All right, and welcome back to another week of Faith, Family, and Wrestling. I am your host, Joey, and our other co-host, we have.
We have good old TK living double wide and dignified, where the beer is cold and the necks are red. Jesus is king and Alvis ain't dead, baby. But also known to everybody else in my family as instead of good old TK, known as Joe Matthews. How you guys doing tonight?
Oh man, Joe, how are you doing? How's your week been so far, man?
It's been a good week. It's just been chill, relaxed, a lot of family fun. Some time with family this weekend that I haven't seen since beginning of quarantine, and unfortunately stayed up till like 4 in the morning, just sitting around in the backyard talking and enjoying each other's company. And that was Saturday night morning, and I'm still tired. It's been like 3 days, and I gotta lie, I hit my 40s, and I'm exhausted right now. So outside of that, everything's good. How about you?
Actually, I had that exhausting moment this weekend too, because we are in the process of moving. But we've got a whole month to move, so we decided we would move half of our house in one trip, and then we're going to move the second half at the end of the month, um, which is good and all, but we kind of decided to do that on Friday when we picked up the truck, and we got a bigger truck than we were supposed to get. So we we packed and loaded up a 16-foot truck full. Uh, we weren't planning on it, but we got it all moved and got it out, drove it out on to Indiana on Saturday, and drove back Saturday night after we unloaded to be at church on time on Sunday morning. So yeah, I had one of those weekends, still recovering from the weekend. Wish it was a little more pleasant of hanging out with friends than moving boxes.
Yeah, I've I've done that back and forth across the country twice, out to Tennessee and from Tennessee to California. No, moving is no joke. It is way too stressful and tiring.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
it is way too tiring. And I will say though, one of the positives that I've had is we talked about wanting you guys to talk to us,
Oh
and
yes.
you guys have been. So for me, like when I wasn't driving, I'd get to sit down and look at everyone posting and texting back about what their favorite repackaged wrestler was or is. Um, it was really cool to see some of those. You get to
Yeah.
look at it.
What's that?
Did you get to look at any of those?
Oh yes, I saw so many of them, and there's a few that I was questioning, because somebody said Chris Jericho, and I don't feel like Jericho's ever been repackaged as much as he's just changed, slightly altered his gimmick at the end of it all, he's still Jericho. Um, Another one I liked or I was questioning was I think we were just talking about it off the air as Bray Wyatt. I feel like he was repackaged from Husky Harris to Bray Wyatt, and he's to the Fiend. So there's that. And who did you bring up off the air just right now? Right before we
Foley.
started. Oh yeah, Mick Foley. Um, that's a tough one because he started as Mankind, and then he went to Mrs. Foley's little boy, as Jim Ross likes to call him, you know, but then he had Dude Love, Mankind, Cactus Jack. So I don't know if he was repackaged as much as the dude just suffers from a multiple personality disorder. Yeah. So
And then what came to my mind when we started talking about that was, does Matt Hardy have the same thing that Mick Foley has? Is it just multiple personality disorders?
yeah, I think Matt Hardy's just crazy as a loon. He well, because I think for me, like, being repackaged means changing more than just kind of how you act. It's more of the like changing the name, changing, like, from Dr. Isaac Yankem. That's probably my favorite. Isaac Yankem the Kane is always my favorite.
Yeah.
Because he's Dr. I Yankem. which took me like 20 years to realize that was with that, which is pretty sad. But
Yeah. Yeah.
So, talking about all of the repackaging and everything else, it really came to, I think, what is a repackage? Is it evolving a character? Is it repackaging a character? I think that really came to light at SummerSlam. Which, real quick, Joe, what did you think of SummerSlam?
Overall, the show, I liked it. I felt like for the first time in a long time, WWE just had a show that made sense. You know, like there was a clear winner. There wasn't a whole lot of wonky finishes or no finishes. Like it was just a good, solid show. Dominic, I thought in his first major wrestling match ever, did excellent. I would have been freaking out. But I enjoyed the show. I thought The Fiend versus Bray Wyatt was good. But then when you saw the very, very end of that match, after The Fiend won and we have our surprise return, our Roman Reigns comes, well, not our Roman Reigns, the fans' Roman Reigns. I'm not a huge fan. He came back. So I kind of felt like that match was just setting up the return of Roman Reigns. You know?
Yeah. Well, when he came back, I texted you and I said, dude, is Roman Reigns repackaged? He's got to be this. This is because he came back with the wreck everything and leave. Is that what his shirt said?
Or wreck everyone and leave.
Yeah, wreck everyone and leave. Which
I kind of want that shirt now.
Yeah, me too. It's a really cool shirt. It leads me to believe that he's in charge of the Retribution faction.
Ooh, now that would be interesting if he's the main person behind Retribution.
Yeah.
I would like that. I feel like Roman Reigns needed to be a heel for a long time, and just his attitude, I don't know, as a face or baby face, I really wasn't a fan of, and the fact that he was always pushed down your throat is, oh, good guy Roman Reigns, he's John Cena 2.0, he's always going to win the big match and blah blah blah, and you kind of get tired of it. This was an incredible return. He looked jacked. Holy cow, that dude is in some great shape right now.
Yeah.
And for me, I just kind of wish the dude would ditch the tactical gear and come out in actual wrestling gear. And at least he wasn't wearing his vest on Sunday. That's all I got to say about it. So, but again, is he repackaged or did he just evolve? Is he now just heel Roman Reigns? So, what do you think?
At first I thought repackaged, but as you and I talked and texted back and forth, I was like, maybe he's not repackaged. And to me, it came to, like, I had to ask the question, what is repackage?
Right.
Is it just a heel turn?
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, then everybody gets repackaged one way or another throughout their career as a wrestler.
Yeah.
So,
good.
I was gonna say, so you tell me what is a repackage? Like, what does it mean? You're repackaged because you've done a repackage, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Like I started off as Logan Alexander in Tennessee, and Morongo Warrior, and then from Morongo Warrior, Dragonfly Logan, and from Dragonfly Logan to Trailer King. So I've gone through a couple repackaging, and basically for me, it's when you completely change. Like maybe someone doesn't change their name, but they changed everything about their character. So going from Dragonfly Logan's he's a good guy, he's a hero. He's me and my son are a tag team, and father son, everybody loves us because we're doing what fathers and sons would like to do and go out and have a good time and fight bad guys together. To the Trailer King, where I'm a beer drinking, fun-loving guy, and I'm out to fight and cheat, and he's a completely opposite of my previous gimmick. So when I think of repackaging, I think of like it's that drastic change to where it's almost unrecognizable. Change the name, change the gimmick, change the outfit, change everything about the person. And to me, that's a repackage, because when they come back, they're completely different than they were before. You know,
Yeah.
but that makes me think of WWE's, like they try to repackage the females a lot, and it doesn't work. Like I know her real name's Tenille. Young lady, she wrestled for NXT. She's NXT champion a little bit. She came out with Santino for a little bit. She did the funky Emma, thank you.
Yes.
But they try to repackage her as kind of like a ballroom dancer or something, and which Lana is now doing the gimmick that I think they wanted Emma to do. So I think WWE tries to repackage people, but it just doesn't work because it doesn't fit who they are. And in order for a repackaging to work, I think, honestly, it has to match who the person is personality-wise, who they are in real life. Trailer King, you know, the I don't want to say Daisy Duke, but the cutoff short wearing, sleeveless shirt, cowboy boot wearing dude, like that's something that's deep inside my soul that I don't get to share a lot. So, yeah, he's very much a part of me, and I have fun doing that character because, yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen you wear Daisy Dukes, and I don't know that I ever necessarily want to see you wear Daisy Dukes.
You know, funny thing is, my wife doesn't either. She's not a fan of the cutoff shorts, and I don't think they're short enough, but she thinks they're too short already. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question, because like you said, it doesn't seem like it works with some of the women that they try to repackage.
Mm-hmm.
But what about, like, how difficult is it doing a repackage as a wrestler?
You have to buy into it 100%. I think for me, being the Dragonfly Logan, switching from Rongo Warrior to Dragonfly Logan, I really loved, because that was basically, Dragonfly Logan was just Joe. He was me, just in purple and, you know, flying around the ring with my kid. Going to the Trailer King, it took me a little while to fully buy into that character, because I wrestle with a shirt on because I don't have a six-pack. I've got a party keg, you know, around the midsection. And like, to go out there in cut-off jean shorts and no shirt was incredibly, that was scary for me. That was incredibly intimidating for me. And to talk with a Southern accent and to just be mean to kids, like outright rude, well, not rude, but dismissive. That's really tough for me, because, you know, what I do for a living, I work with kids, and I love kids. But to have a little kid run up to me all like, Trailer King, to high five, and I'm like, yeah, get out of here, kid, you bother me, and like shoo him off. Oh man, that is so difficult. But the character is incredibly popular because I bought into it and I said, okay, this is who I am. Here's all the stuff I need to do. And when you buy into it 100%, you know, I have people asking to buy my shirts. I have people asking to buy my hat, which I haven't made, and I was getting ready to do all that before quarantine started. And it got hugely popular because I said, you know what, let's just have fun with this and do it. And it's that buy-in. And I think that's what makes a repackaging, you know, fun. You know, makes it successful. It's because you buy into it.
Yeah. Well, that's, like, I again, going back to, and I think we'll go back to this guy a lot, is probably Bray Wyatt, from Husky Harris to Bray Wyatt. Like, the Husky Harris character was actually supposed to be kind of in honor of his dad, I believe. His dad used to be a wrestler.
Mm-hmm. His dad's IRS.
Yes. And like, he was supposed to go in a direction of honoring his dad and kind of being the same character his dad was. And he went the exact opposite of the direction his dad was, going into a cult leader.
Oh, yeah.
Bray Wyatt. Like, to me, it was just like that. You have to buy in, and you could tell when he came out, he bought in. And
1,000%.
Yeah. When you hear like interviews with him, it's like, okay, this guy really did buy in. Like this guy cared about this character. He wanted this to work. And the crazy part is when you buy in like that and that character started to die off, whether it was because Randy Orton killed the character by saying he wouldn't do certain things or because the way they booked him.
Yeah, just bad booking.
Either way,
Yeah.
he said, I want this to work. Let me evolve into something better. Let me change and fix this or this. Let me get rid of all this and come back as the Fiend.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this approach to make it work. And I think that's the buy-in you have to have is I'm going to do anything it takes to make this work.
Yeah. And you look at that, you know, and I guess because you brought up earlier, that could be a repackaging because when he left, he was that syrupy sweet, you know, Rocky Maivia, woo, you know,
Yeah.
with a really bad haircut and really weird gear. And then he comes back as, you know, The Rock, joins Nation of Domination, and he becomes, and he's flat out said, he's like, no, this is who I really am. It's like amped up. But this is who I was at University of Miami because he played football at Miami in the early 90s, and they were a pretty cocky college. You know, they had that swag, and he just took everything he learned at college, you know, on the football field, that swagger, and put it into his wrestling character and just went, you know, to the moon with it. The same with Stone Cold. You know, he was the ringmaster, and he really didn't know what that gimmick was, but then as soon as he started calling himself Stone Cold, and, you know, Stone Cold 316 and all that stuff. Oh my gosh, you know. And because he bought into Stone Cold and he master. So.
Oh yeah. And actually talking about the Stone Cold one, I loved someone posted a picture of when Stone Cold first came out as Stone Cold, like when he started to become Stone Cold, him riding down on the rolling chair down the ramp holding 2 beers. And just crashing into the ring and jumping up. Oh, man. I back and watched that. Oh, I love that. That was so awesome.
Yeah.
But
oh, yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah. But it was because he bought in. And that's the key is you got to have buy-in. Like, it can't be half-hearted.
Yeah. Well, you look at, you know, all these guys who evolved. You know, it's not so much repackaging, but it's the evolution of to go from like Edge as part of Edge and Christian to the Rated R Superstar. Randy Orton from being, you know, the young guy Randy Orton to where he became a super psycho when he had that the rivalry with Triple H when he arcaded Stephanie in front of Triple H when Triple H was handcuffed to the rope. Like, holy cow! But these guys bought in, even though like Randy Orton's like, dude, this sucked because like this is my boss.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm doing these horrible things. And, but they buy into it, and then that gives them legitimacy. Look at AJ Styles. You know, he's a Christian and one of the nicest guys in the world. But when he's a heel, like, you just want to punch him in the face. But he buys into it. But you know, like in real life, this dude's, you know, a legitimate, like one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, give you the shirt off his back. But, you know. So when they buy into that stuff, it just makes it 100% better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's a cool thing. And I think that's why in the women, if you think about it, and this goes down a totally different path, so we won't go deep into this, but a lot of the stuff like the women are getting asked to repackage as is kind of shallowish. And a lot of the women want to go deeper into like a stronger character. Like they want to be something better. Especially with the women's evolution or revolution. They want to be something better. They don't want to be taking steps back. Because that's kind of what the Emma and Lana thing was stepping back to the way they used to do things with the divas.
Yeah.
And I don't blame Emma for not wanting to do that. Like she wasn't buying into it. And I think, to be honest, it kind of segues into our running the ropes of faith moment is when it comes to your faith and your relationship with God and becoming this new creation, like this repackage that we talked about last week, we started talking about, you get this idea that you have to buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be a 100. You've got to really want this.
Yeah.
If not, it just isn't going to work. And I think that's the whole. We read last week about how it says turn away from your sins, get rid of your sins in Romans 6:1. And I think we want to kind of dive a little deeper into that this week, because I think that sounds like basically what everyone hears growing up is quit sinning, don't do that, don't be a bad person. But repackaging as in all honesty, that's like, I remember as a kid getting baptized and being told, okay, don't sin anymore.
Yeah.
That mean? What?
You have Jesus in your life, you're not going to sin anymore, and you're like, well, how? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got in the car with my brother and hit him in the arm, and I was like, yeah, sinned, messed that up already.
Yeah.
So how do you repackage as this new creation in Christ? Because we talked about as a repackaging of a wrestler, they've got to change everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it's not just a switch around of now I'm good, now I'm bad. Still going to talk the way, still going to dress the same way. I'm just going to say mean things instead of nice things. Or vice versa. Becoming a Christian isn't just, okay, now I'm going to say the right stuff.
Yeah, and give money on Sunday, and yeah.
It's more than that. Like, it's a full change. It's like changing the way you talk. You even change your name. Because you go from just Joey to I'm a Christian. I am a member of God's family. So you take on that Christian name. To be honest, I think it would be cool if we just quit saying our last names, and when we become a Christian, just I'm Joey Christian.
Joey Christian.
Like that.
Sorry, it made me think of Christian's theme song. From the Christian. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's. Oh man. But no, I agree. Like it's one of those things where it's not just like Christian by name or Christian by whatever. It is a lifestyle change. It's 100% turnaround. You know, it's a complete 180 if you're heading down the wrong path, you're flipping a U and you're going to get back to the right path. I can get into like kind of how we can do this now, or we can wait till after the verses. But the like how Jesus repackaged me. How would you prefer?
But let's go ahead and dive into how Christ repackaged you, because I think that's an awesome.
Yeah. So
awesome, it just kind of ties it in everything.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised on an Indian reservation. My dad is Native American, European. My mom's Hispanic and Native American. And I was born and raised in a home, unfortunately, with a lot of trauma. Drugs and alcohol were very prevalent. Physical abuse, emotional abuse, all the negative stuff you could think of was there. As I grew up, I went to Catholic church. Never really committed to it because that was just something we had. Because my family did it every Sunday, but we weren't, practicing Catholics. We just kind of showed up. When I was in high school, I went to camp. My buddy invited me to his church, and it was a Christian church, and we went to summer camp, and I, heard this amazing, amazing message about how once you get God in your life, everything changes around. It's all rainbows and butterflies and cupcakes and s'mores, and everything's going to be great once you accept Jesus in your life. So, of course, I did. Because, my parents are divorced, they're alcoholics, they're drug addicts, and, I'm going to accept Jesus, and boom, everything's going to be cool when I get down this hill. And it wasn't, unfortunately. I got baptized, again, thinking that if I got baptized, it was going to solve every problem in my life. So I was trying to, talk about, get repackaged, but one thing I didn't understand at the time was the work it took on my half to get repackaged. It's not just get dunked in the water, you pop up and woohoo, you know, you go down as you know, Husky Harris, you come out as the Fiend. Well, that's probably not a good example of getting baptized. So that's like the opposite direction. But you know what I mean? You go under failing and you come up perfect, because guess what? Now it's on you. It's on me to make this work. And I didn't understand that up until the age of 30. I worked, I had a family. You know, I thought my job as a dad was just, you know, make money, pay the bills. My wife raises the kids. You know, like she handles the kids stuff, I handle the money stuff, and that was it. And I wasn't a very attentive father. And in my eyes now, I don't think I was a great husband. I love my wife. I treated my family fairly, but I was more into me. So I was very selfish. So at the age of 30, I own my own insurance agency. I'm doing well. And the economy busts 2008, and I lose my business. And in losing my business, now I've got bill collectors calling me, and I've got all these issues coming up. I can't pay my bills. I can barely afford to feed my family. I can barely afford to keep a roof over my head. I go from owning a business to cleaning bathrooms part-time at a high school as a high school janitor. So business owner making, you know, near six figures to, you know, minimum wage janitor in the matter of months. And it was incredibly humbling. And that was the first time in my life I wasn't able to be successful on my own. I could not figure a way out of it. Every time I had an answer, so I was very self-reliant. And I talked to a buddy of mine. I was doing youth ministry at the time. I had always had this, you know, desire to help kids. And I was talking to the youth pastor, his name's Lloyd. And funny enough, I'm in LA, and the youth pastor went to the same high school I went to, and his dad was actually my math teacher, even though we're 120 miles apart. So small world. But I'm talking to Lloyd, and he tells me that I need to just give all my problems to God. And I was so insulted, so appalled, so angry at him for even suggesting that I give my problems to God, because I had felt like God had failed me my entire life. I felt like God was never there for me because my parents weren't there for me, who should have been. I mean, you know, your parents should be there for you. And I was so angry at my parents. I was so angry at God because I did not see all the blessings God had given me. I just saw that moment that in my anger, I started mocking God. And I started doing the like, oh, fine, you know, God, you want this, you can take it. And I was very just sarcastic. But that sarcasm turned into truth as I started actually pleading. Lieutenant Dan's on the top of the ship screaming at God and just letting all of his anger and his rage at God out. Same for me. I'm in the church parking lot, just Old Testament, you know, tearing the clothes, gnashing the teeth, going crazy. And I just had it out with God and let everything out. You know, it's not like God didn't know what was in my heart and how I felt, but I actually verbalized it to him. And me and the pastor prayed. You know, I cried. I just let it all out. And the next day I woke up and it was crazy because I still had all the debt. Nothing changed. But I was at peace with whatever was going to happen. I was sure God was going to take care of me. And I was sure God was going to take care of my family. And he did. And it started with, and this is the amazing thing, God put this lady in my life. This lady calls me. She's a bill collector. And I answer the phone, and she starts with the whole, like, you owe us money, blah, blah, blah. And I went off on her. This poor lady. I cussed her up one wall and down another and told her that I wasn't paying them until I fed my family and all this. Just, I let her have it. And the cool thing was, she's like, you know, Joe, you sound like you're having a tough time. Didn't even raise her voice. She just took it and then was so calm. And I was like, tell you what, here's a company we work with. It's a debt consolidation company. Give them a call. They can help you. And I was like, excuse me? And she's like, yeah, they'll help you out. Here you go. And I called them, and that happened. You know, I was able to get, you know, my debt consolidated and a good thing. And then all of a sudden a door opened up for me to go move to Tennessee and go to a Bible college. And I did. I moved out of California, went to Tennessee for 4 years, got a degree in Bible and counseling. But during that 4 years, God was at work in my life. God was touching me in so many different ways. He gave me so many opportunities. I hosted sports talk show with Joey and our buddy Andy. I started professional wrestling, which was always a dream of mine. And I just had the opportunity to be a husband and a father to my family, and without outside interference, without all these pressures of trying to be something, having to be anything. I was just a husband and father. And one of the big moments for me was we're at our buddy Ace's house watching wrestling, and I had just put my dad in the airplane to fly back to California because he had come out and visit us. And I talked about this awkward hug that me and my dad had, because we're not a loving family that way. And I was like, all right, Dad. I gave him this real weird hug, like quick, like if you've ever seen Step Brothers where they're almost like hugging but fighting, that was kind of like our hug. And I'm telling Ace and my buddies about this, and my son, who's like 9 or 10 at the time, he's like, that's kind of like us. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, when we were in California, I didn't like you very much. You were always mad. You were always upset. You didn't want to spend time with me. He's like, but here we hang out all the time, and I really like being around you. And for me, that was another moment of God, like, opening up my eyes, opening up my ears, opening up my heart. Because before that, the moment in the parking lot, like I don't want to say I was unfeeling, but I was very self-centered, and I didn't really care about other people's feelings. And when my son told me that, it broke my heart, because I realized I'm your father, and I should love you, and I should want to do all the stuff with you. And I never did, because I was more focused on me. But once I had that moment with God and I truly gave my life to God, I felt like he took walls down that I had built around like he just in the words of Chris Jericho, he broke the walls down that were around my heart and opened my eyes and opened everything to this whole world that was right in front of me. And I had never, ever, ever known it. Since that moment, I've dedicated my life to working with families, working with kids, serving the Lord, and just helping people. And I feel like that, for me, that was God repackaging me, because I finally realized that in order to be a good servant of God, I have to put in the work. It doesn't just happen,
Yeah.
As much as we like God to be a genie and boom, everything's great. We have to put in the work and have that faith that what we're doing is right and what we're doing is good. And he will definitely change your life. And for me, it was earth shattering. That one moment in the parking lot at church, for the 100th time, somebody told me to give it to God. And when I finally truly, God did everything. Sorry, I got a giant cat trying to walk on my laptop. Get out of here. Come get your cat. Trying to get in the podcast. He ran across my laptop. Thank you. Yes. Anyways, dude, she did. I was fighting my kid's cat right now. But anyways, take two. But once I finally gave everything to God, everything that Pastor said at camp when I was 14 years old actually came true. And I'm happy. I'm content. I have so much love in my heart, and it was crazy, and it was a complete change, and it was a complete repackaging, because I realized it, and I, like you said, I bought in, and yeah, I don't know, man. I get teary-eyed when I think about it, and and God's definitely blessed me in so many ways, and it started with my wife, who just has put up with me for 23 years total, but 21 years married, and it's good times, dude. I don't know what else to say. God can, in 2009, God repackaged me, and here I am today. So
And something you said that something that the minister had said when you were 14 and didn't sink in until you were 30, and once you bought in, that there's a verse, Romans chapter 6, verse 11 says this: in the same way, count yourselves dead to sin, but alive to God in Christ Jesus. And to me, we often, like I said, we hit that sin part, but the big part is the live in Christ Jesus. Like, that's what we're supposed to be excited about.
Yeah.
We're giving our life to Christ. So it's buying into, not necessarily, like, you are buying into getting rid of the old you,
Mm-hmm.
but you're buying into the new you.
Oh, yeah.
You're buying into being a follower of Christ. And yes, it means changing the way you think. It'll be changing the way you talk, but it's for the better. Like you said, with your son looking back, you regretted the way you had treated him before.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, praise the Lord that he woke me up.
Yeah. And it was crazy because, you hear all those stories about like, oh, I accepted Christ in my life, and like overnight it was a change. And it didn't happen at 14 because I wasn't ready. I was hoping Jesus was that genie in the bottle that so many people unfortunately think he is. Um, it happened at 30 when I was finally ready to fully commit. And sometimes, sometimes people can just learn the easy way. And there's people like me who just have to do everything the hardest way possible. I ask my wife, there's an easy way and there's a hard way. Well, let's do it the hard way. Or let's just do it my way, and I'll invent a way to do it, and it's going to blow up in my face, and then I'll do it the easy way. But sometimes I think God lets us, I don't want to say lets us sit in our own filth, but kind of that. He gives us he gives us the opportunity to come to him, but then he knows that, hey, you know what? Joe's not going to get this right away. So he's just going to let me dig my hole, dig my hole, dig my hole. And this isn't my idea. This is something I stole from Darryl Strawberry, who I got to meet last year. So yes, I will name drop real quick. And I had lunch with Darryl Strawberry in Arizona, at a Christian convention. But oh yeah, look at my Instagram page. It's awesome. But Darryl Strawberry said sometimes God lets you dig your hole so deep and get to your absolute worst and your weakest, so you can truly feel his power when he pulls you out of that hole. And some of us learn that right away. And like me, luckily I didn't have addiction. I didn't have that stuff, but I dug my hole deep enough to where I felt like I wasn't contemplating suicide, but it was definitely something where like I can see why people do commit suicide. And I was at that point, and then, and then it happened when God reached down and said, okay, Joe, I think you're finally ready to listen to me, and pulled me out of it. And, sometimes God's going to do that, so we finally fully believe in his power, and we have faith in him. And man, ever since that day, like, I am not doubting God at all. So.
Yeah. That's we want to put it out there, like we say every week. If you want to talk about this, reach out to us. You can private message us on Facebook or on Instagram at Faith, Family, and Wrestling. But really, the biggest thing is I kind of want to put a challenge out this week, and want to challenge you, even if you are a follower of Christ. I want to challenge you to ask yourself, have you bought in?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the scariest thing for me is the fact that there are people who follow Christ and never buy, like, they kind of follow Christ,
Yeah,
but they never buy in. Ask yourself, have you bought in? Because
yeah,
I don't want someone to get to heaven and go, oh, I never bought in. Oh, I wish I would have bought in. Oh,
yeah,
I thought I bought in. Are you letting Christ change you for the better?
yeah.
Encourage you, like I said before, reach out to us, talk to us, because we are, like we said, we're trying to build a community. This whole thing, we're doing this because we want people who are Christians new in their faith, been in their faith, whatever, and like wrestling, to have some place where they can listen to people talk about wrestling in a fun way.
Yes.
Because I don't know about you, Joe, but I listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts, and it's really hard to find a wrestling podcast that you sit there and don't go through half the show. Man, I wish they didn't talk like that, or man, I wish they would have left that piece out.
Right.
We want to make it so that you can listen to this show with your family.
Yes.
Because, and we'll get into this in later episodes, we think watching and being a part of wrestling with your family is an important thing. And that's something we'll get into later on another show. But we want to encourage you, be a part of the conversation, and even bring your kids into the conversation on Facebook or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to us. Join our community. We have a Facebook group, not just a page, but we have a group, the FFW community. Join us on there and hit us up because we are excited. We are officially on Apple. So Apple Pod, get us on Apple, Spotify, Google, Breaker. Don't even know what that is, but we're on it. But you can check us out on any of those. So I encourage you, check us out, talk to us. And in our community, like we said, we've been posting stuff out, and we're really excited because we're getting like 200 to 300 comments on our posts, which has been fantastic. We're loving it and loving to see you guys interacting with us and interacting with each other. But we really want to know this week, here's our question for you. What current wrestler do you think needs repackaged now? What wrestler needs repackaged now? Joe and I will think about it for the weekend because we can't. But we want you to talk, and we'll talk about it next week a little bit and head into a new topic and head into more wrestling stuff.
Oh, for sure.
But we always want to encourage you guys as we head out. We want to hope you have a great week. Hope God continues to bless you. And we want to remind you to keep God first, family second, and then wrestling a close third.
Yep.
Yeah.
A family wrestling, baby.
Oh, yeah. But hope you guys have a great week. See you next week.
TK out.